And welcome. The Inside Scoop is on. We are episode 48 for December 18th. We are a podcast about self improvement, knowledge seeking, and our main aim is to explore topics and perform self checks every week on, well, whether we're being the best versions of ourselves. So I'm Marius Rebellis. This is Oscar.
Hello there.
And today's topic came spontaneously and naturally, kind of. We thought we would talk about effort versus outcome, I guess. It's an interesting topic as it's been prominent in my life too. It's usually false to think that and I'm already, jumping into conclusions, but it worked for me like that. It's like you think you're going to put a lot of effort into something and you're going to get a lot of out of it, but that is not entirely true usually. So I think I'll just quickly introduce what sparked this, I guess. I recently redesigned my website and I did it in a way where I used a static site generator. I think they're called SSGs. It's a system software which pretty much generates you a website from a rule set that you give it. Rule set, a theme, you give it a few files, and it generates you a website which is easy to navigate, easy to update, easy to maintain. The size of it is not that, it's just a very nice, elegant solution for static sites. And the outcome of this, well, was the website itself. It was that I now have a nice, elegant website. In comparison to what I used to have, which was things that I actually would make it myself, completely from ground up, for example. I would just create something because I know that I kind of can do it, right? It's like I'm studying computing, so I may as well design something myself, like put a navigation bar, like copy pages, and that wouldn't really be the most elegant and all that solution. As much as I'd like to think that, because I'm capable, obviously I can do it, but it's still not as good and nice as someone else's implementation of such things. So I don't know, Oscar, I think I sent you the link. Have you checked the website? Or I think I sent you a screenshot at one point or whatever.
I had a quick peek on the website. I was just thinking there though, because I'm thinking so the first one, the first way that you mentioned of making a website, static generator thing. Can you explain how that works?
So a static page generator generates you a static website page, which is like it doesn't have any, I think, like dynamic content which changes. So you have a recipe, kind of, a configuration file which you give it if you, again, it depends. There's Hugo. I used Hugo. There's other generators, but this one in particular, you create a folder, for example, called posts, and then you create markdown files called whatever you want it to be. And then from this folder structure, it creates your blog page and with the posts, and it's like all of the pages, apart from, I think, the home page, are just .md markdown language files where I put text, and it automatically wraps that text around into like a navigation bar plus footer plus all that. So it's almost like WordPress with PHP, but this is simpler, I think.
I get it, I think. And so like the headings become your navigation bar thing?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how the guy who did the theme implemented it, but it's like...
Okay, so it's based on a theme as well.
Yeah. You choose a theme. Yeah, you can do your own theme, but like I chose a simple theme, and it's already got everything, and it will allow me to maybe even do blogs, like more blog
Mm-hmm.
posts. As I never found a good blogging solution, I even had uh, a repository on GitHub where I tried organizing people to actually start an open source solution for Markdown blogging. You just you create a Markdown file. I don't know if people are like familiar with the language. Markdown is a very simple text language where it just allows you to format text by writing plain text. So it's like if you have a Word document and you select it to be a heading, when you copy and paste it to somewhere else, you don't usually copy paste the format, or if it copies, it usually copies it in the wrong format. Like you have pains and problems with that copying format across websites and Word documents and all that, as opposed to Markdown, where all you're copying is literally a line that says hashtag and then the word, and then this becomes heading 1. Double hashtag is heading 2. So it's like it is in plain text, but then once you run it through a renderer, it comes out the other end as being actually nicely formatted stuff. So
Mm-hmm. But you have to then also rely on wherever you're putting your plain Markdown text, that it has a renderer built in there, so you
correct.
can't really take it anywhere as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So there's always, like cons and pros and cons and all of that. I just thought that this will help me actually maybe produce more content or whatever. We've just finished, like 14 minutes ago was the deadline of our UX assignment, user experience. And we were talking about, so what do we include in the report and stuff? And I was like, now we need some buzzwords, minimize friction, help people by using familiar things and all that, right? So the main buzzword is minimize friction. Again, coming back to the main topic, what is the result that you're aiming for, and what are the necessary effort levels that you need to put in, Like in this case, let's say I want to have, I guess, user stories or whatever they teach us, right? I want to have a website which holds my social links, which holds my paragraph of like who I am, and which helps me to maybe blog and like write stuff down. The easier it is for me to actually create a new file, write stuff down, and Control S, and then once uploaded, that's it. It's a fully fledged blog post. The easier that is, the easier it is for you to actually blog. I would think that just makes sense. The easier you make your tools to use, I think it's the same with like Workspace and stuff. The easier everything is for you to just sit down and actually do work, the easier. I think you might have any, like maybe some insights into that, like maybe even with work, not necessarily like websites and stuff.
What, like not switching to Dvorak and...
Well, oh yeah, now that you mention, I remember those. Yeah, maybe that too. So,
yeah.
Any like any insights on what you think effort versus outcome?
Well, I want to just go on a tangent of that. I think is important when you mentioned that you might like to build the website from scratch because you have the capabilities. And I was just thinking, like, building something physically is also for many people very rewarding, versus maybe doing accounting or whatever their job is. And I was thinking that's comparative. You can compare that as well, so you could like use the knowledge that you have of programming and reading documentation and stuff, and you can use that and build it from scratch exactly as you want. Almost might kind of give you the feeling that building something physically does, in comparison to just you're using a tool to put a bunch of files there. Maybe there's something there, because also, for me, for example, when I was doing websites in WordPress, it's like it was quite literally just work, because I would enjoy much more to code the thing, but on the other hand, it's quite inefficient. I mean, there's people who will code websites from scratch and they make lots of money that way, and there is a better option for them. But I like the way, for what I was doing, for example, a better option for me, I think, was WordPress, to put the thing together fast, get paid, and it was literally just work. But I would probably enjoy more to code the thing from scratch, because I have the capabilities of doing that, and I'm not learning some system that is probably going to some tool that is going to change constantly, and because you have themes, and what if theme stops being updated,
Sure.
and like learning how to just I think the thing is, I've learned how to code for computing for 3 years of computing, and then I'm sitting down to drag and drop things, and it's like, okay, so this is all my work that has amounted to. I think that's another thing. But
I guess it's an interesting point of view. I guess I haven't considered it that way, I guess. Again, just my opening line of today's episode was also like, what is the goal, the result that you're wanting to achieve, So as like, in this case, wanting to have a blog, right, should not mean that you need to go out and, I don't know, code everything from scratch, right? It's like maybe you want to be putting your efforts into something else. So it's like, I don't know, a good example would be like Barack Obama or something, right? Where I don't want to like misquote the person, but it was something about minimizing everything to a routine where every day you would already know like what you don't want to be thinking of what you're gonna eat, what you're gonna wear, what all of that, right? Where all you are is like a maximized potential machine, I suppose. It's like create, do, act, do the things that you can, and in order for you to perform at your peak, let's take, for example, Formula One. Currently, Mercedes is number one team because Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas are usually on the podium. When Lewis Hamilton had a quick like break, I think he already like won the world championship or whatever, and they like allowed him to, or he got COVID, something along those lines, right? So he did not participate in one of the races, but they got like a young guy, like a completely prodigy who never raced like I don't know, like a world championship, whatever, and he actually has done so well that you start to question like, who is Lewis Hamilton so good, or is it the car actually, So it's like it's just an example that in order for you to perform at your peak, or at like a supposed peak of yours, you do need the environment to be set up properly. So it's like, how much time do people spend on mundane things which are unnecessary sometimes, maybe that's what like Elon Musk is trying to solve, like commuting, even that, it's like, how much time do we actually spend in our cars? You look at the humanity in whole now, and just think that, damn, we do actually spend a lot of time in cars, I think.
Right.
And it's like, is that your goal? Is that your goal? Like when you wake up in the morning and you need to commute to work, that is not really your goal, to just like sit in a car for an hour,
Yeah. Well, you'd probably be more efficient if you could just get to your work faster.
That's true.
Not just from the perspective that you have more time, because you shouldn't work more hours because you have more time, but just the fact that you're not going to be exhausted from being in a car for several hours or
Mm-hmm.
an hour.
Sure.
To be honest, I never wanted to drive a car, and so I don't know what it feels like after a while. Maybe it just becomes routine and it doesn't matter, and you just switch off into.
It,
Maybe
it
it's not
does.
that
It does.
exhausting, but
I assume it does become a routine, and then when you see people getting into accidents when they use their cell phones or are putting on makeup while on their way to work or whatever, that is also an extra risk. So I think remote work now is kind of like the most efficient way to I guess remove the friction between you, well, commuting to your workplace, obviously. I don't know how good of like communication. There aren't really many communication benefits from maybe, not seeing people eye to eye. But at the same
mm,
time, how many hours are we actually spending in useless meetings?
yeah, it's like if you have to go and see someone, uh, because that'd be the etiquette to go see them physically. Now you don't have a choice but to call them.
Mm-hmm.
You set up a meeting, 15-minute meeting out of your day, and call them, and that's it. And that's all that you're spending on them. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no getting anywhere physically. Uh, so time saved there, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know how good it is for us, because if you just imagine, commuting to work, you will do some walking, and you'll get some exercise. Um, I'm worried for where we're heading
Mm-hmm.
with that, because it is your environment that is going to affect you the most. You've got to have incentives to get do exercise and stuff. It's why you have countries which have obesity problems and countries which don't have obesity
Mm.
problems. It's all about the incentives, the environment. So I'm worried where we're heading right now, and with mental health as well, which seems to be a rising problem since the start of COVID for various reasons. And the biggest one probably that people can't do what they usually did, which is see their friends,
Mm.
and
Correct.
that's the biggest one. But for people who maybe just socialized at work, if that's all the social interaction they got, now they don't have that too. We're going on a tangent here, I guess, but yeah, it's many concerns here for physical health, mental health, which are also related. Um, there's people who are going to be fortunate enough where it's not a problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
People who this change is going to be very detrimental, and it has been for many people. The question is, if this is where we are heading, whether evolution will just do its job
I think
as
we're
usual.
gonna
And
somehow adapt to it.
yeah, I think people I'm not an expert in evolution by any
Mm-hmm.
stretch, but it's all about passing on genes. And I think it's not, yeah, let's say mainly passing on genes, but the people who I suppose will survive through other means as well, for the sense of community,
Mm.
are ones who are going to be able to adjust. If we don't have that support framework of people who are also like, we should, physically go to work and see each other. There's no fight against that. There's not enough strength to fight against that. Like, we're just taken with the stream one way or another, and it's independent of what some small minority wants. It's maybe independent of what the majority even wants, if there might be a majority, because it's just what's happening. It's outside of our control that we're moving to online now, because there are some advantages to that, perhaps for business people or whatever, businesses. I don't have to rent offices and so on. So if we are just getting swept in that general direction, I think the people who, whatever the evolution will do its job, and the people who go forward in time, who pass on their genes and through other means become the majority, will be the people who can cope with the situation. As a melancholic, I guess, as that sounds.
Depressing,
Yeah.
sad, I guess.
Yeah, that's another thing, because like we don't like change, right? And it's and this kind of change is sad to some people, to maybe half of the population or something like that, because I know a lot of people who love working from home. But yeah, it's sad to us now, but if you think about it, it's moving to a new normal. It really is the new normal. Once we get there, we'll get used to it again.
Yeah.
And that will be the new normal, as people say. Well, we're really sad about it now. Eventually, we'll just forget about it. And we're not. Nobody's really that concerned about the past. Right?
True.
How were things in the past? It's about what's happening in the moment, and we get attached to how things are in the moment. And generally, the change is very gradual, and we never notice it, but it happens. But with this, it's less gradual. It's noticeable.
Yeah, but we still kind of, I suppose, get adjusted to it, right? And then, as you said, it's hard for people to let go of what was in the past. Now, maybe if this persists for another few years, this is, as you mentioned, will become the new normal. And then, like, now people are going to be, there's going to be a pushback from people when they're like, hey, come back to the offices or something, So, I mean, we're nearing the end of our podcast, and I think all of this, to sum up and come back to the topic, right, where COVID and like online work and stuff, because I always had this idea in my mind, and I never really like explored it too much, is the question of maybe it's a good thing, it's like, let's say the planes and the business travel and all of that. I always consider this a luxury, and whoever I talk to, and if they actually have any business trips, it sounds cool. It's like, oh shit, you're like flying across the continent to another place to spend like a week with your business travels, and you don't have to pay anything. But now I'm reconsidering it, right? Because the idea of this podcast is like, what is the actual goal that you're trying to achieve, and what are the ways that require the least effort to achieve it, or the most efficient, right? So it's like, if you're only going out there to have a meeting with the CEO to like discuss your new plan, maybe you don't need to buy the business travel ticket, whatever, and again, I don't want to like offend the airlines and all that, because like business travels and business trips make up a lot of their income too. And it's like, I don't know, but maybe we don't need that, maybe we don't need to go so far as to leave our offices and like travel so far, and maybe we don't need as many meetings. Maybe we don't need all that. And maybe this is just an adjustment, a wake-up call to show us that we actually don't. Like, we can have a meeting even online, just hop in a call. Everyone presents their ideas. That's it. You're out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is neither good nor bad. Again, it's like, if this is the new normal, then we forget how to talk to people and stuff. But like,
yeah, I guess I wouldn't want to call it a wake-up call, especially that it's not neither good or bad as anything. But yeah, I mean, people are attached to it. It's people's identity to go and travel for business meetings with everything that it involves. I mean, it's part of their routine. So it's no surprise why it has it took something like COVID to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because why'd you like it's just part of a culture,
Yeah.
part of how we do things, and yeah, it had to take something big to change that, and because otherwise it's just why do things differently?
Yeah, that's
Like even
true.
with even when we got the capability, because it's like it used to be that you would have to do that because you couldn't communicate with people through the internet.
Yeah.
Maybe you could call people, but then it's not the same as being there physically with them, seeing the other person. But or be in a group call like you. I don't know when technology, like how telephone technology worked, whether you could have group calls, but when that was introduced, but yeah, even when we had the technology available to us with the internet and everything to have video calls and group video calls, conferences, whatever, like people were, wouldn't give up going on business trips and like everything that's involved in that. Wouldn't want to give that up just because they could, and now they have to.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's lots of things enjoyable about.
Oh, for
about
sure.
that.
No, that's the thing. It's like if it shows how unnecessary it is. Probably, again, I don't own a business. I don't have like hundreds of employees, and I don't send them on business trips to see if that's actually useful or not. It's all pure speculation, but we do have to ask questions, because if we don't ask questions, then who's even gonna consider stuff like that? I don't know. To sum it up, are we good to end on this note?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, okay. So to sum it up, I think it's more of a rhetorical question. Do you think COVID is a hoax and is just an ad for Zoom? And this is how we're gonna end our podcast. It's if you're not watching the video version, we are kind of like giggling. It's a complete nonsense. Don't take it for like it's a joke, but
well, I was saying I was having this conspiracy early on, but I was saying MS Teams
for Microsoft Teams, you think?
Yeah, because I mean, Bill Gates with all his shit.
Oh, that's
with all his
true,
conspiracies.
dude.
But he's yeah.
That's true, man. Yeah, that must have been a new ad for Microsoft Teams because there's so many people now using Microsoft Teams. I think that was it. Yeah, but other than that,
well, there was also lots of advertisement on campus for Microsoft Teams, like a year, starting a year before COVID.
Oh, so they're taking it to a whole new level, global. Okay, yeah. Let's not get ourselves canceled with. Okay, I really appreciate the conversation. Thanks, Oscar, and
thanks, man.
Thanks anyone listening to this. As always, rate it, follow it, subscribe to it. We have a YouTube channel. We are streaming this every Friday, 8 p.m. usually. On Twitch channel, you can find all the information on the YouTube channel or anywhere. I think you can just start Googling the Inside Scoop. It's I don't know how our SEO is doing, but we're hopefully starting to hit the pages. But other than that, really appreciate your stay. See y'all next week.